So if you guys are a lot like me, then you probably watched the Nintendo Switch Direct yesterday for the Switch 2. And if you're like me, you were pretty excited about it. Like, I mean, they showed a lot of good stuff. The hardware looks good. The game, Mario Kart World, looks absolutely fantastic. And I was having a blast just streaming that event. So many games that, like Elden Ring, for an example, coming over on Switch 2 is just crazy. Like, it's crazy. Like, we have Elden Ring, Cyberpunk, like so many big games coming over to the Switch 2. And the Switch 2 hardware had a lot of massive upgrades, like better screen, 120 frames per second refresh rate on the screen, 1080p, more pixels. It's just a lot of different hardware, chat features, all kinds of different things. And like I said, the games were looking fantastic. One of my favorite games that they showed is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, because I was a big fan of Age of Calamity. So to get a sequel to that, I'm like, oh man, I'm definitely into this. But unfortunately, the bad news was kind of hidden until after the event when we started getting the pricing of all this. Now, I'm going to be upfront. I'm going to pass on the Switch 2. I thought about this all night, and I'm like, I'm going to pass on the Switch 2 at this point because to me, it's a very, very high investment, and I don't know if it's worth the investment at that time. Plus, I don't think it serves as a good, like, representation of what consumers are willing to pay. You know, if I'm willing to pay the price that they're willing to charge us, it shows that these companies can continue to do so. This was a problem that I had with PlayStation and the PlayStation 5 Pro. The PlayStation 5 Pro comes out and it's like a $700 console, $800 if you want to get the stand and all that stuff, the disc drive. It comes to $800. I can't sit there and criticize Sony for coming out with a $700 base console for the PlayStation 5 Pro, charge their consumers that much money, and then turn around and say, oh yeah, Nintendo, you can charge me $90 for Super Mario Kart World physical copy. And the kicker is the game isn't even on the cart. So there's a whole bunch of problems going on with the Switch 2 in terms of pricing, nickel and diming, and just I don't like the where the industry is going. And I want to talk about why I decided, hey, I'm going to hold off on the Switch 2. I don't really need it right now. Yes, Mario Kart World looks fantastic. Yes, I want Age of Imprisonment. But is that worth me forking out all the money in the world to play these games? If you're an exclusive Nintendo player, then yeah, maybe you invest into that. But if you're someone who's playing on PlayStation, playing on Xbox, playing on Steam, PC, is it really worth the investment? I started pricing how much this console was going to cost me, and it was extremely expensive to the point where I was like, I think I'm good. I don't think I need this is right away. I think I can wait years down the line, and then I can just catch up on the backlog at some point because I still play my Switch. My Switch is still like I still like playing Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Age of Calamity, all those great games. So the base console unit, if we pull this up, is going to be $450. And to be honest with you, I don't think that's a bad price. I was expecting $400. They went $50 more for all this the new bells and whistles that this console does. I think $450 is a very reasonable price. And if you pay another $50, you get the bundle that comes with Mario Kart World. Okay, $500. It's a little pricey, but okay. $450 for the base unit, an extra $50, you get the bundle. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me, Sally. $450, $50 more than what I thought it was gonna be, but hey, I understand. You got a 120 frames per second refresh rate screen here. You have 4K upscaling. You have all kinds of mouse switch things, mouse Joy-Cons that I'm never gonna use. But hey, you added all that stuff, so the price goes up $450. Completely understand that. But then when you start looking at like all the other stuff, Mario Kart World is $80 digital. These are all digital. $80 digital is going to be $90 for the physical copy. Same thing with Donkey Kong, $70 digital, going to be $80 for the physical. You're charging $80 for the Switch 2 version of Tears of the Kingdom. How much are they charging for Breath of the Wild? Breath of the Wild, $70 for the Breath of the Wild. Like this is absolutely insane. This is insane pricing. $80 for the new Kirby game. Like this is absolutely insane. And we got to this point where games went up to $70. PlayStation was the first one to come out and was like, here's $70 for our PlayStation 5 games. All PlayStation 5 games are going to be $70. And then, of course, market being what the market is, they got to raise their price. Like, everybody kind of has to follow suit to kind of meet that. And then Nintendo's like, hold my beer. $80 games, you're going to pay $90 for the physical games. And the problem with that is that the game is not even going to be on the cartridge. Like, Nintendo has come out and said that, yeah, you're going to have the cartridge, but the cartridge, when you put it in, is just going to act as an activation for the license, and then you're going to have to download the game. So you're paying $90 for a physical game, and the game is not even on there physically. And it gets worse when you start to look at it. They add this new feature, right? This new chat feature. Well, thank you, Nintendo, for joining the party 15 years late. Like, this is nothing that the Xbox hasn't done back in the 360 generation. I mean, the original Xbox had chat features when you're playing games, but the party chat feature started with the Xbox 360. You know, this is something we had back in 2011, about 15 years ago, and Nintendo comes 15 years, almost 2 decades late, and they add a new chat feature with a C button that allows you to access the chat menus on your Joy-Con. But the chat feature you have to pay for. Like, it's going to be free for the first few months, but then you need Nintendo Online in order to access the chat feature. You might be saying, well, hey, Rob, I mean, you know, it is what it is. But can you imagine that you needed to pay to chat with people, to chat with your friends? Like, could you imagine if Microsoft or Sony did that? Like, Discord, it exists. It's free. Not only that, Nintendo had the audacity to add a button on your Joy-Con that you have to pay to press. You literally have to pay for Nintendo Online to press. Can you imagine if PlayStation released the PS5 and the little share button that they added back in the PS4 era? If you click that share button, it only works if you're a PS Plus member. Or, hey, Xbox added a share button, but that share button only works if you have Xbox Live. Can you imagine that? Like, imagine having to pay to access a button on the hardware that you just spent $450 to $500 for? But it gets worse. Not only that, but Nintendo released this little tech demo, right? This little tech demo that is going to be with the console, and it basically explains all the new features. If you ever played Astro Bot on the PS5, I'm not talking about the new Astro Bot. I'm talking about the old Astro Bot that was like the tech demo for the PlayStation 5. They also had one on the original PlayStation VR, where you download this free Astro Bot game. It's not very big, but it kind of goes over like a tutorial of all the new features. The PS5 one is probably the most known because a lot of people have PS5s. They download that, and it shows like Astro Bot walking, and you get the haptic feedback and all that. Well, Nintendo is doing sort of the same thing. They have this tech demo tutorial that's going to be with the Switch 2, but it's under a paywall. You have to pay $10 in order to access a demo to tell you how to run your own machine. Can you imagine if the Astrobot tech demo that Sony's like, yeah, you just spent $500 on this console, you have to pay us another $10 for this? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? And then when you start looking at games that are upgrades, like you got to pay $80 for the Switch 2 version of Tears of the Kingdom, $70, and these are all digital versions, by the way. These are not the physical copies. The physical copies are all like $10 more. $70 for Tears of the Kingdom. So, like, hey, I spent $60 for Breath of the Wild when it first came out. Guess what? I have to pay for an upgrade pass, or I have to buy a new copy altogether. Hey, I just spent $70 like a year or two ago with Tears of the Kingdom. Guess what? I have to buy an upgrade patch, or I have to buy a new version. Where Microsoft came out and said, hey, all of our Xbox One games, you're going to get free Xbox Series X and S patches for all your games. The architecture's already there. We're just going to give you the free upgrades to the game. The hardware's there. You already purchased the game. We're not going to make you repurchase it. Now, I know Sony kind of backtracked on that a little bit. Sony was like, yeah, we're going to give you all PS5 versions for free. And then they kind of, like Jim Ryan kind of backtracked, tried to charge people, and then the fans were like, no, we're not going to have that. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. Oh, no, it's Alex made a great point. Can you imagine every time we get a new GPU on our PC that I have to pay to upgrade all my games to run better on that GPU? Can you imagine if you bought like Stellar Blade on the PS5 base and Sony comes out and charges for the PS5 Pro version? Like, that's asinine. You already bought the hardware to make your games better. Why do I need to pay to make them run better on this hardware? I already own these games. It should be a free upgrade. Now, if you want to sell the new versions over again, that's fine. But if you already own the version, then the old version, you shouldn't have to pay to. You already bought the hardware. What are we talking about? And there's so many different things that like we added a camera. Hey, we're jumping into the next generation 2 decades later, and we're adding this horrible looking camera, which that's gonna be like all kinds of crazy. They're charging that. The Switch Pro controller. Hold on a second. This is my Switch Pro controller. I love this thing. Right? Love this thing. The new Switch Pro controller, $80. So let's break this down, guys. Let's break this down. If you want to get the whole console experience, you're going to pay $450 to $500. Okay, if you don't get the bundle, you're not lucky enough to get the bundle, you got to pay $450 plus $80 for the game, $80 for the Pro controller, Nintendo Switch Online. It's just, at this point, it's really starting to come very, very pricey. And at this point, I'm like, I am bouncing. It's a little too pricey for my taste. And I would only be getting the Switch 2 for exclusives. Why would I play Elden Ring on the Nintendo Switch 2? I got a Steam Deck. I play it on my PC, and if I want to play portable, I play it on Steam Deck. Same thing with Cyberpunk. Same thing with like Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yeah, it's great that they're coming on the Switch 2, but I can play better versions on my Steam Deck. I only paid $450 for this. And guess what? I didn't have to pay for upgrades on certain things. I didn't need to pay for chat. I didn't need to pay for like my entire Steam library just went over to this. I didn't have to rebuy games or rebuy upgrades for games. I didn't need to buy a weird camera. I didn't need to do all that. Like whatever's on my Steam library works on this. $450 for this. And it does so much more than the Switch 2. And then I'm just like, why? Why would I invest so much money in the Switch 2 just to play the exclusive? You want to dangle the exclusives over our head? Okay, well, fine. I'll play the exclusive. I will play the exclusive years down the line when I can buy the hardware secondhand and start getting some of these games pre-owned. Because this by all, the whole purpose of this video is to show that Nintendo is being anti-consumer. PlayStation raised the prices of stuff. Nintendo follows suit, and you should not shill for a corporation. You should always, as a consumer, you should always demand better. Always demand better. Better. I'm not stressing the hardware price. That to me I feel is reasonable. But to pay $80, $70 to $80 for a digital game, to pay $70, $80 for a digital game is absolutely asinine. And the thing that bothers me the most is the nickel and diming that Nintendo is doing. They're doing so much nickel and diming. It's like $50 here, $80 here, $30 here, $10 for a tech demo. You start adding that all up, and it's at this point, why? The better and cheaper alternative is Steam Deck. It's the cheaper and better alternative. You want to play all these games? They're already on the Steam Deck except for the exclusive first-party games. It's the cheaper, better alternative. So I'm out on the Switch 2. I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna fight to spend all my money. I work hard for my money. I don't want to fight and blow it all on a corporation just so I can play like 2 games. To me, it doesn't make sense for me financially or logically, but everybody's different. If you're excited for it, I'm glad you're excited for it, but I really hope that you would do your research, look at all the things that they're nickel and diming you in, and then really ask yourself, is that worth it? Because you can just pick up a PS5, an Xbox, you can go buy a cheap gaming PC or even a Steam Deck for the price you're going to be paying for these things, and it's just going to get worse. The next PlayStation 6 is going to be like, the PlayStation 6 is probably going to be like $700-800. It's just going to get worse. So, and just my thoughts, guys. Thank you guys so much. Please leave a comment in the comment box below. Hit the like button. Thank you guys so much for watching. Later, guys.